Welcome to the Shabby and Man podcast. We are partners, parents, podcasters, broadcasters,
and everything else in between. Namaskar. Now, I hope you've realized that we've been away. I hope you've missed us, that we've been away. We've been away for a couple of months.
We're back with a brand new season. As the seasons are changing, about to hit autumn, full on.
That's right. Naya season jari hai.
शुरू होने वाला है, and even though right now is it uncharacteristically warm? Is it going to be uncharacteristically warm this week, or is September meant to be?
It's an Indian summer.
Oh, it's an Indian summer.
It lingers and then slowly it freezes.
Not slowly, overnight it freezes. I think there's a temperature difference of about 15 degrees before you know it. It starts out, your morning is 6 degrees when you're leaving home, and by the time you're returning from work, it's about 21. That's the hardest to come to terms with. But we thought that one way of distracting you from the weather, especially if you're in the UK, would be by returning with a brand new season of the podcast. So here we are. And are we summing up summer 2024?
Well, what's happened since we've been away? We have a new Prime Minister.
Yep.
There was the summer of riots, you know, the far right agitation, the aggravation, the misinformation. It all came to a head, you know, it all simmered.
Well, I was away. I was actually in India when all that happened. So
you were on holiday, weren't you?
It passed me by, but of course I know what it was because it made the headlines all over the world. And it had repercussions for a long, long time. Many people were taken to court. People were talking about it. Investigations were launched into why it happened, what the cause might have been, etc., etc. So, yes, a summer of discontent leading into a winter of discontent. That's another story. Then we went to see a musical after a long time. Have we not spoken about this?
No, it was quite unexpected for us to go together to see a musical.
That's right. See, so much has happened that we are constantly going to be asking each other whether we've already spoken about it or not, because we've been away for so long. And it's almost as if one event is merging into the other.
Well, we went to see MJ, the musical. MJ stands for Michael Jackson. Now, just a caveat before that I actually saw Michael Jackson in concert many years ago in Wembley Stadium. Mm-hmm. So
I don't think I was born then.
That memory was still, well, it wasn't fresh, but I still had that memory. So it was great to see the musical. I really enjoyed it. I mean,
we'll come back.
They did a good job
with more details on that. Of course, we're just touching on all the things that we can think of right now. Very interesting docu-series, 3-part docu-series on Salim Khan and Javed Akhtar, Angry Young Men. The Salim Javed story premiered.
मैंने नहीं देखा.
तुमने नहीं देखी है. Premiered on Amazon Prime. It led to a lot of discussion and debate on.
Sorry, तुमने नहीं देखी या आपने नहीं देखा?
आपने नहीं देखी. Something you did end up watching and you felt diametrically opposite from how I had reviewed it.
Let me tell people the story. I know what you're talking about.
Let's start with that, okay?
We're really all over the place today on this podcast. We don't know where we're going.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes we should probably have something written down. But anyway, all habits die hard. Now, you went to the premiere of a movie last year.
Yep.
And you said it was okay. I didn't think much of it.
Did I say that? I thought I said I genuinely disliked it.
Yes. And the story, and by the way, it became a huge hit. I think it was the biggest hit of last year. And the story is basically about this over-the-top OTT, as they say, over-the-top Punjabi, Ranveer Singh, who falls in love with this so-intellectual Bengali family daughter, played by Alia Bhatt. And of course, there's another story in between about his grandfather and her grandmother having a brief affair.
Ages ago,
which really seemed to annoy you.
Yeah, I do not agree with the premise.
I thought it was by the way, we're talking about Rocky Aur Rani ki Prem Kahani.
Yeah.
It's a Karan Johar film, right?
Yes.
And I thought it was funny. I enjoyed it. And I can't understand what you're talking about.
If you are like the masses, if you are easily pleased and you like what people like, which is the lowest common denomination of Bollywood entertainment, there's nothing I can do about it.
Because you're already playing to type. I said, there was this so intellectual Bengali family. It's for the masses, is it?
Yeah, it is for the masses, for the Punjabi masses. But I know, I can't deny the fact that it's a massive hit. I can't deny the fact that people have really loved it. I can't deny the fact that some of the songs in it, especially Ve Kamleya, especially the Sufi version, I absolutely adore and love. Nonetheless, I find the premise completely flawed. The fact that when you have your grandmother who's hale and hearty and living, and she's the person who has built your fortune, You completely disregard her feelings. Not that I have any empathy with Jaya Bachchan's character. She plays quite a witch. Nonetheless, you completely disregard her feelings as Rocky and Rani, and you think, you know what? Let's get Grandpa together back with his old love, and see if it cures his dementia. What
That's right.
a load of...
You totally missed the point. That was the point, that if we can rekindle his memories and get his dementia, whatever.
Yeah, and what if he does become okay? What of the love affair then? What happens to his old love, or indeed his wife of present times?
Come on, it's a Karan Johar movie.
Yeah, that's true. It's a Karan Johar movie. I didn't realize that in his 50s, Karan Johar had completely taken leave of his senses, and he's completely decided to take the audience for a ride.
I think it's a nice movie. It's a good movie.
Well, there you
Baat
go.
khatam.
Baat to khatam hai, because I cannot convince someone who's impressed by mediocrity. But there you go. There's nothing to be done.
So, 99% of the population who watch that movie are mediocre.
No, are people who are easily pleased, like I said. You just give them some nice clothes, a few corny dialogues, some nice songs, a bit of Karan Johar flash, and they're saying, that's okay, paisa vasool, this is all we wanted.
Yes.
Some of us are slightly more cerebral. We like our entertainment to have a bit more sense than, Karan Johar just completely ticking all the boxes of, have I spoken about women's empowerment? Yes. Have I spoken about typical Panjus? Yes. Have I spoken about typical Bengalis? Yes. Have I done 5 songs? Yes. Have I spoken about, the girl, my princess of, the other day she was my little princess, today she is about to get married. Tick, tick, tick. That's it.
It's
predictable.
So obvious that this has touched some raw nerve.
It has.
In your Bengali conscience.
It has touched a raw nerve in my Bengali conscience. We are not shown to be these fake intellectuals.
I mean, did you not crack up when Ranveer Singh goes to the house and sees a photograph and says, I love that photograph of your dada.
Yeah,
and they say, no, it's Rabindranath Tagore.
I did crack up, but not for the reasons you think. Only because I thought, oh my God, Karan Johar, I mean, how predictable can you be? But nobody argues with the box office, as you rightly pointed out. It is one of the biggest entertainers.
Funniest thing.
I have listeners who say they've seen it 12, 13, 14 times. I question their
You know what
sanity.
The funniest thing is, that you were asked to introduce this movie on a big platform
recently.
About 10 days ago.
Yeah, and I turned it down very politely because I did not want to go there and either A, say the popular thing which I did not believe in, or B, slate the film when they're about to watch it. I do feel that I might feel differently about the film if I saw it after a year or two, but as of now, from what I remember, I think it was just cringe.
No, I'm sorry, not everyone can go to art house movies.
It's not about art house. I love a good Bollywood masala entertainer as much as the other person, but it should not be something which ticks every stereotype and is the easy way out.
At least you could have said, wow, look at Alia's sarees.
I did. I do admire her stylist. So for me, the only award that Rocky Aur Rani should have won is for Alia Bhatt's stylist. She should absolutely walk away with every award under the sun.
She did win the Filmfare Award for this.
What fantastic color. Well, let's not even go there. I mean, we know how awards are handed out in any country, in any profession. Oh, that's another touchy topic. Yes, it is. That's what the new season is going to be about. Right. If you said your piece about Rocky Aur Rani ki prem kahani, that's the other thing. I said
my piece.
No, that's the other thing
I didn't get a chance to say anything.
Yeah, that's the other thing I did not approve of. Which man, forget Indian or Western, which man in their right mind goes lingerie shopping with their mother-in-law? No one I know. Karan Johar ki duniya mein kya hota hai, ye mujhe nahi pata. They're all probably kinky, strange people. They live in a bubble which the rest of us don't.
It was a beautiful scene. It was very touching. And maybe 90% of the people who watch movies are not prudish.
No, fine. Call me a prude or whatever. But if you have to tick that box which says, let's put in a little monologue about respecting a woman and, whatever. I thought that was the strangest way of putting the message across. Of a mother-in-law and her son-in-law going lingerie shopping. I have not heard of anything as weird as that. I don't know how you can defend that. Yeah, at the end of the day, she does give a very powerful monologue, which is probably the reason they hired her. But it could have been slipped into the storyline in a more subtle and more acceptable manner. But then I said, we're talking about
I just think you have to live a bit, Yeah,
I'll live a bit. Yeah, indeed. I just hope I don't live long enough to see a sequel to this film if ever a senile Karan Johar decides to make it. Right, moving on.
What do you want to move on to? What's the next topic?
The Salim Javed documentary, something that I did enjoy. Although I have to say, even there I was disappointed.
Not pleasing you, eh?
No, and I think that is the popular opinion as well. Because we hold them in such high regard. Because they are
And
people...
deservedly so.
Deservedly so. Because they changed the course of Indian cinema. Because they gave rise to The Angry Young Man. Because they have an unrivaled, unparalleled success rate of 22 hits out of the 24 films they ever wrote.
And just let's not forget the amazing dialogues. If you ask me to do some dialogue from the last 10 years, I probably don't know.
Do a dialogue from Rocky Aur Rani ki Prem Kahani. That's the only one you could remember. Oh, yeah, Dadaji's portrait. Whereas Salim Javed के हर फिल्म में मेरे ख्याल से 6 dialogues होंगे.
No, I know so many dialogues from Rocky Aur Rani.
Oh, which one?
Rocky, this side. Nice to meet you.
This side, yeah, there you go. All the Punjabi ones you remember. So, yeah, because there, and also because there is so much written about the two, Salim and Javed, the director duo, the screenwriting duo, sorry, not director duo, screenwriting duo, because virtually every piece of trivia on any of these big blockbusters they've ever done is public knowledge anyway. There's very little that we would have expected from this docu-series.
So you wanted some new information?
I wanted something that had not been revealed earlier. So Salim Javed, I think I really warmed to Salim Khan after watching this docu-series, because Javed Akhtar is my biggest Bollywood crush. I've interviewed him on several occasions. I know everything there is to know about him. I've read most of his books. But Salim Khan was a mystery to me. I only knew him as Salman Khan's dad.
He's kept a low profile.
He's kept a low profile. Absolutely. And one can see why, because he was the one who came up with the storyline. Javed Akhtar was the one who wrote the dialogue. So Javed Akhtar went on to become a poet and went on to become a lyricist, whereas Salim Khan obviously kind of almost gave up his career. But there were very beautiful, poignant things that Salim Khan reveals about his childhood, his mother, his relationship with his work. Those early days of struggle when they were made to stand outside a producer's office for hours on end, and then suddenly, summarily, just because the producer didn't feel like it, they just, after making him stand for 8 hours, the producer says, that's it, I have no time for you today, come back on Monday. And he was queuing up to get money for work he had already done. And very beautifully, very poignantly, he says that there's somewhere in our religion, he says, there's somewhere the Prophet says that mazdoor ko uski mazduri uska pasina सूखने से पहले मिल जानी चाहिए. And he said that, I could have easily thought, because we were such cocky young men, I could have easily thought कि मैं भी देख लूँगा किसी दिन when I'm in his position, blah blah. But what I said to myself that day was, I vowed to never do that to anybody else if ever I was in a similar position. Then he talks about his mother, how,
Talking about Javed Akhtar?
No, I'm talking about Salim Khan. Javed Akhtar's story we know almost inside out, because he's spoken about it hundreds of times. As the director herself says, that when we broached the topic, the first thing Javed Sahab said was, nobody would want to see it. My life is an open book. I've spoken about every chapter in my life. Why would you want to, But because it was a joint documentary on their contribution to Indian cinema, that was the USP. So
basically you're saying, Joe, jiska haq hai, wo haq hi hai. You deserve what you get.
What? In what context?
That mazduri mein, if you worked hard for it, you should get your just rewards.
Not just rewards. You should get your rewards on time. He's saying मजदूर को उसकी मजदूरी उसका पसीना सूखने से पहले मिलना चाहिए. He shouldn't have to come and beg for you for work he's already done.
That's what I'm saying, for what's already he's owed for.
Pay him on time. That's what he said. That it's not that I was queuing up outside the producer's house begging for work. I'd already submitted my work. This was for a work already done, that he just on a whim, because he was famous and I was a nobody, he decided to make me wait, and then he decided to make me wait for another 3 days. So again, Javed Akhtar has spoken very poignantly in his book on several occasions about his relationship with his mother. He lost his mother the day after his 7th birthday. Salim Khan has a similar story, and he says that my story is that for 3 years of my mother's life, from the time when I was 6 to 9, I could not go near my mother because my mother was suffering from TB. TB in those days was contagious and fatal. So here was this woman who would be surrounded by his maids, because he came from a well-to-do family. He said he was surrounded by his maids, and I was the youngest of 8 children. I would see my mother. There came a point where my mother one day called the maid and said, "Who's that little boy there?" The maid said, "He is your son." So she said, "You come here." But I had to stop at a certain distance. And he said my mother started crying because she she realized that while all my other older siblings were married and settled, she feared that after she died, what would happen to me? I was much younger than them. And so poignantly, so beautifully, he says that, Meri to chhodiye, I was an 8-year-old. Imagine what my mother must have felt to see her child and not being able to hug her child for 3 years of her life, the last 3 years of her life. So you can see that all those emotional mere paas maa hai type
I was just going to say
dialogues.
It's well documented.
Yeah.
That because they didn't have their mums
Both of
around
them didn't have a mother figure in their
growing
lives.
up,
Their
mums are very traditional,
Yeah.
saving the kid.
And Javed Akhtar
blessing
says
them.
that the mothers that we created in our films who became iconic thanks to Nirupa Roy was a figment of our imagination. Both of us lost our mothers young. This is the mother we imagined our mums to be if we had had a mother figure in our life. So these little personal touches, too few and far between in those 3 episodes, because they decided to cram it with celebrities. Hrithik Roshan saying one line, Amir Khan saying one line. Anybody who's ever been in
What about the Big B? You must have
the
said
Big
something.
B, Jaya Bachchan, Hema Malini, Ramesh Sippy, all the usual suspects. Then you have all the writers who are saying, Anjum Rajabali, all the big writers who are saying that, Prasoon Joshi, saying that, Diwar ki jo script hai, wo film school mein, it is taught, you are taught you are taught how to analyze the script as the perfect screenplay ever. Better than Sholay, better than Trishul, better than Shakti, better than anything else they've done. They say Diwar is a flawless script, And then they also talk about the fact that this 2 brothers, one a cop, the other a gangster. Javed Saab कहते हैं कि the magic is in the treatment. If you look at it, he rattles off about 6 other names, films from the 60s, 70s. This is a theme that is done to death. If you think about it, even Mother India is that.
They didn't write Amar Akbar Anthony, did they?
No. So he said that this is done to death. It's just the way we did it, in Diwar. कि उसके हाथ पे मेरा बाप चोर है लिखवा दिया. That's so extreme, na? And then there's a funny bit about all these things. Of course, we know that none of the big heroines wanted to work with Amitabh Bachchan. Amitabh Bachchan was literally the last choice, and every A-list hero of the time, from Dilip Kumar to Devan to you name it, refused that film.
You talking about Zanjeer?
Diwar.
Oh, he wasn't that big then. He already had 1 or 2 huge hits, didn't he?
He'd had a few hits, and then kind of
Well, maybe I'll have to watch this. Talking of Indian films and all, you went back to the motherland.
I did.
Didn't you? For a couple of weeks.
I
Good
did.
to be back home?
Very good to be back home. But, yeah.
I didn't go, by the way. So, just seeing your photographs of eating South Indian, you were in South India. Your parents live in Bangalore, which is Kannada.
Which is Karnataka.
Karnataka.
Rishi Sunak's.
Sorry, they speak
Kannada. Rishi Sunak's Sasural.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just today happens to be Onam.
It is, which is from Kerala, by the way, which is a festival celebrated in Kerala, an autumn festival. I mean.
No, I was going to say that I saw all these photographs of you every day eating different Indian delicacies.
Yeah, a lot of them at home, a lot of them outside. The boys went with me, so I took them out to several places, meeting mum and dad, sister, brother-in-law, all the rest of it, family, friends, loads of my friends. I'm so lucky that some of my closest friends either live in Bangalore or always make it a point to come to Bangalore when I'm in India. So all of that, 2 weeks flew by.
And it must have been a weird feeling that our 19-year-old, who is now about to go to his 2nd year of uni, was with you, and you were hitting like Bangalore's famous for its bars.
Yeah.
You went to a couple of
bars. He went to play darts. Then a friend of his was visiting from London, was visiting his family in Karnataka. So they went partying a couple of days. It's amazing. I think it's very, very interesting. Your travel itinerary becomes very different when you're traveling with teenagers who know exactly what they want to do, where they want to go. Because the moment he landed in Bangalore, Bangalore now has a brilliant new terminal. I thought the good airport 20 years ago was anyway state of the art, but now they've gone one further and made it very eco-friendly and stunningly beautiful.
Yeah, you can see how beautiful it is on various YouTube and things. Yeah.
So as soon as we landed, he looked at his Instagram and he said, these are the top 10 things that Instagram says you should do in Bangalore when you're there. And he was like one by one going through them and either ruling them out, saying, no, not interested, not for me.
But you're okay with him doing things that masses like, but you're not okay with watching
No,
movies that
there's no
masses
harm in
like.
looking at what people are saying. I don't think we ended up doing anything on that list other than 1 or 2 things, which was go and play darts here or go and check out this Sunday market or something or the other. and his interest is going to be very different from my interest, obviously.
Let me tell people this story from 3-4 years ago when I went with you last. And we've always been, and we know what to do when we go to these 2-3 roads where we have
in my parents' neighborhood, which is a very young, trendy neighborhood.
Yeah, there's a couple of unis there, so it's very trendy. We knew it was trendy.
Yeah,
there's a huge mall and everything. So on the second last day before we were leaving, I also picked up a guidebook or something. And it said that there's this street which is the street to go to, and we never heard of it. And there was just one street further than where we go. And we didn't realize. And it was the bee's knees. It had everything there.
No, but again, it's a matter of perspective. You thought it was the best thing ever because it had pub after pub after pub after eatery after pub after pub. My dad still thinks it's a nightmare because every time my dad has gone there, he says there's no place to park. It's teeming with these young people who are, crossing the road, not parking properly. My God, what a nightmare. So it's a question of obviously perspectives. But we found it very interesting, and strangely we only discovered it a day before we were meant to fly back. But even now, I feel each time I go to India, it becomes painfully apparent to me that India is very much in with the trend. A couple of years ago when I thought escape rooms were big here, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when everybody was doing an escape room, we went to an escape room as a birthday treat. The very next time I went to India was already on it. You had escape room for kids, you had escape room for those who was into science, those who are into mysteries, those who are into murder mysteries, everything. Then when indoor rock climbing was a big thing, indoor this, indoor that, and I felt that anything that we were enjoying here in the Western world was getting picked up by, improved upon manyfold, and rolled out all across India. So I don't think Indians need to really take a holiday abroad to really stay in touch with the trends or whatever is trendy or whatever young kids are doing, whether it is in terms of a bar.
I'm just saying that one of the things I read recently is that the intake of Indian students coming here has reduced drastically.
That could
in
be
the last year.
Is it not because it's become exceedingly expensive? Indians have the money.
It's with government regulations and visas.
But I don't think they're missing out on anything. The sad bit is that India is still a country where there's so much poverty. So many people struggle to go to school, struggle to make ends meet, struggle to have 2 square meals a day. That is the sad bit. I think the gap between those who are well off and those who can't afford anything is widening and deepening.
Of course. I mean, this was the summer of the Ambani wedding.
Yeah,
that kind of sums everything up.
Yeah. But it's also quite impressive, scary to see how global trends make their way to India very, very quickly. So it is truly, some of the big cities at least are truly becoming international cities. But then again, you get a reality check when you look at the traffic. Bangalore traffic is absolutely horrendous. In the last 20 years that my parents have been in Bangalore, 21 years, it has gone from bad to worse in front of our eyes. The same way that here in the UK, you tell me that when you grew up, there were like 5 cars on your street. I mean, your dad was one of the lucky ones who had a car back in the 60s, 70s.
Look, I'm old, but I'm not that old. There were more than 5 cars, okay?
No, but you know what I'm trying to say, that it was a big deal for people to have a family car. Now, even in England, if there are 4 adults, you're likely to have at least 3 cars in people's driveways. But the roads are still the same. Parking is a nightmare. So it's pretty much the same in India, only 10 times worse.
But Sadiq Khan, who is our mayor, I know he's hated by many, but at least he's trying to cut the pollution. He's making it
improve public transport.
You can't drive more than 20 miles an hour.
Yeah. See, the only way you can force people to pay more to drive is by improving public transport, giving them an alternative that they would much rather happily use. In India, all the metros and everything is fine. But it's too little too late, fine. It's still not it's still a developing economy.
But England is, for public transport,
ridiculously expensive.
Very expensive. I'll give you an example.
London.
Our kid at the moment is in Europe.
Yeah.
And he paid less to get a return ticket to wherever he's going in Europe than to go from London to Manchester.
Yeah. It's cheaper to go to Europe and back
than it is
take a train to Manchester and come back, which is ridiculous.
Which is actually crazy.
Which is absolutely ridiculous. So I suppose that is the only way a country can actually discourage their people from driving, is by giving them a good alternative. And so coming back to India and Bangalore, that's what it is. When you look at the traffic, when you look at how power cut is still a part of people's everyday lives, how there is so much that still reeks of a third world economy despite all the progress they've made. That's what kind of brings it back into perspective, I suppose. Well, that's it then. I think it's been a very, very long podcast, episode 1.
No, it hasn't. As usual. I thought first one back we'll do double what we normally do.
No, I mean...
You mean we ran out of steam?
We've run out of steam.
You didn't even mention anything about Michael Jackson. Did you like it? I thought I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it, but Michael Jackson is more your time than mine, I'd like to think. There's a whole generation between the two of us.
Oh, sorry. Are you a Swiftie?
No, I'm not a Swiftie. Not at all. I'm
you knew what it was.
Bryan Adams fan.
Come on. Bryan Adams, Michael Jackson.
No, Bryan Adams. Yeah, more or less. But, it's who you end up following in your formative years. Michael Jackson was at his peak when you were a teenager, probably, right? I was not. I was still in school. You were at uni and probably even a graduate. So... I know his big numbers, but I was never crazy about Michael Jackson, let's put it that way. But I did think that it was a phenomenal musical. But then calling a musical in London's West End phenomenal is like calling the sun hot. You know that only the best of the best make it to Broadway and make it to London's West End. So you know that production is going to be slick. You know that the scene change is going to be superb. You know that everyone who's singing and dancing and acting in it is going to be flawless. And that was the case. I think in this case, their challenge would have been to not just find a black actor who can act, but a black actor who can sing and do the moonwalk. That must have been the challenge. And for them to find a Michael Jackson who portrays different times in Michael's lives, a young Michael Jackson who can sing, dance, an older Michael Jackson who can sing and dance, that would have been doubly challenging.
That guy's name, I might get this wrong, but I think his name was Miles Frost, and he is phenomenal. He's won loads of awards in America.
I can imagine.
He's very good.
Because like I said, it's not just about the singing, it's about the dance as well. You have to nail those steps. And I think this musical transferred to London after a phenomenally successful run in America, right? On Broadway. So it's come from America. And yeah, it was a night of entertainment. Fantastic. I was going to say Paisa Vasool, but it wasn't because we were invited to the screening and we were given very, very good seats. Perks of the job, I suppose.
Do you think it's time to wrap up then?
I think we should wrap up.
Oh, just before we go, I just want to say a huge thank you. On a certain app.
Yeah.
We've got over 50,000 people downloading us.
50,000 people are interested in what you have to say about Rocky Aur Rani ki Prem Kahani.
Which is beautiful.
You must be joking.
And humbling, and we're so grateful.
That we are. We are exceedingly grateful. The reason we do this podcast is because you give us feedback and you give us so much love. And we are back with a new season, and we hope to be around for a couple of months before we head off again.
Head off where? You're planning something without telling me again.
Into the sunset. Proverbial sunset.
Till next time.
Look after yourself.